Welcome, everyone. We're glad to see so many of you here. I'm Dr. Diane Marins-Peñalosa. I am a doctoral lecturer in the online business programs. And before that, I was in digital marketing and data analysis for about 23 years. And with me presenting, I have Dr. Haroon Abu. He is a Senior Vice President of Digital Technology and Data Analytics at Bell & Howell and an adjunct professor in online business programs. Just a couple of housekeeping notes before we start. Please feel free to ask your questions in the Q&A section at any time. We will answer them at the end of the presentation. Also, we are recording, so if you don't want to be on camera or recorded, please do keep your camera off. Next slide, please. So just a quick overview of what we're going to cover. We're going to talk about how AI and humans are already collaborating and how we can collaborate more, how we got to where we are in relation to AI, how it's impacting work, and also the organizations that we work for. We'll give you some best practices for using AI in the classroom, tell you what every career now needs from you, especially in terms of AI, and then we'll give you a call to action. Now I'm going to pass it over to Dr. Abu.
Hello, everybody. Great seeing you all. Thanks for joining. This is an interesting topic, fascinating topic. As you have heard, Dan mentioned it, humans and AI are already collaborating, right? They're working together across industries, whether it's healthcare, manufacturing, logistics, education, or marketing. Let me take you inside some of the companies, some of the workplaces where AI is already working alongside people, right? The first image over there is at Queen Elizabeth Hospital in the UK, where robots dispense 400,000 prescriptions yearly. Artificial intelligence forecasts medical needs so that pharmacists can focus on what truly matters, that's patient care. The second image is from Chipotle, the fast food chain, where their robot, Autocado, preps avocados while chefs can focus on flavor and customer service. The third image is field service companies like the one I work for, where we use AI to do predictive maintenance, taking care of the machines even before the customer knows it, right? Similarly, civil engineers use Internet of Things or AI to simulate traffic and design smart cities. The last image on the right is from Coca-Cola. It's an advertisement campaign called Create Your Own Magic, Create Real Magic, where they use AI like DALL-E or Sora with customers to co-create advertisements where customers took part in designing that ad. So the bottom line here is AI is not replacing humans. Artificial intelligence is working hand in hand with people in a collaboration manner. So before I go any further, let's take a quick poll question here. You will see the poll displayed on the board here. If you can take in the last 7 days, how often you have used, how have you used artificial intelligence? We'll give it a few more seconds. All right, as you can see, it's a good sign. You have used AI both at work and for more personal reasons. Good. All right, let me end the poll and go on to the next topic here. So how did we get here? The waves of AI, right? A lot of us think of AI as something that got, started with OpenAI's ChatGPT back in 2022, but that's not the case. So predictive AI, or what we call discriminative AI, existed for many decades, right? Before generative AI, there was just AI dating back to 1950s. That's called the predictive AI, where AI analyzes existing data to make future predictions. Weather forecasting was an example, stock predictions. When you go to Amazon, the recommendation engines, medical diagnostics were some of the examples. And then generative AI came along in 2022. The main purpose of generative AI is to create new content based on patterns it has learned. And early this year, we were introduced to the term called agentic AI, which is powering AI agents to act autonomously without human oversight. And then physical AI, where autonomous systems like drones, for example, or self-driving cars, understand and perform complex actions in the real world. But the beauty about these waves of AI, we don't have to treat it as individuals. Take, for example, Intuit, which is a tax preparation software. It actually predicts the invoices using historical data to anticipate when an invoice might be needed. And then using generative AI, it drafts the invoice using content. It drafts the personalized reminders. And then agentic AI, based on certain conditions, sends that invoice automatically to the customers that it predicted in the first wave, the predictive AI, right? So that's where predictive AI, generative AI, and agentic AI coming together synergistically to create a value. Now, when that whole philosophy is extended into actually having a physical device to take an action, in addition to a digital action, which is agentic AI, sending invoices is a digital action. But when you really make it do certain physical things, think, for example, a drone, a warehouse full of drones, actually predicting, generating, and then taking an action, but it's actually flying a drone to take a particular part or a SKU from the warehouse and shipping it and packing it, shipping it to the customer. So that's where physical AI comes along. That's the next wave. So when all these waves kind of work hand in hand synergistically, that's where the real value happens. Now, the future of work is already here, as we talked about, right? The future of work is more and more combined with people, agents, and robots. And let me take you to some of the corporate headlines, the recent news headlines that will really ground us in some actual news, as actual headlines on what's going on in the market. Here, this is from earlier this year. Satya Nadella, who's the Microsoft CEO, says as much as 30% of the Microsoft code is written by AI. Similarly, at Google, AI writes over 25% of the code. What does the future look for software engineers? Another headline from Mark Benioff, is the CEO of Salesforce. He says his generation, he's the last CEO who will be managing just human workforces. In other words, the future CEOs and the future leaders will be managing human workforces as well as AI agents. This could be AI recruitment agent, human resources onboarding agent, what have you. But people, the leaders will be managing those algorithms as well as people side by side. Citibank recently began retraining 175,000 of its employees in working with AI, create prompting versus basic prompting to generate meaningful impacts. Another headline from Walmart CEO, who issues a wake-up call. AI is going to change literally every job. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. Shopify CEO wants justification before hiring new people if, why, and if AI cannot do the job. Wall Street Journal, AI agents arrive at Citi, and CNBC article saying AI is not just ending entry-level jobs, it's the end of the career ladder as we know it. And AI adoption is linked to 13% decline in jobs for young US workers. And we'll have some more content on that. And finally, Wall Street Journal saying the boss has a message, use AI or you're fired. So the other thing I want to talk about is the survey here from World Economic Forum, Future of Jobs Report 2025. There is a link here. When you get your presentation slides, you'll be able to click on that link and read through some of the fascinating trends in the world of AI. Basically, the bottom line is 170 million jobs will be created by 2030, and 92 million of current jobs will be displaced. We're talking about skill shifts. 39% of the current skills will become obsolete. And World Economic Forum predicts simultaneous job displacement and creation. And some of the growth areas in the jobs, fastest growing jobs, are, again, this is an eye chart, but when you get the presentation or you can read the report through the link, the top left-hand corner is basically saying some of the fastest growing jobs are in big data and in financial technology. Declining jobs, as you can imagine, on the bottom left-hand side are postal workers, clerical, administrative, data entry, bank tellers, cashiers, accounting, and legal work. And on the right-hand side, what are the top skills in demand for between 2025 and 2030? Those are the skills like AI and big data, creative thinking, resilience, lifelong learning, and curiosity. So before I go further, let's take another poll here. When you think of AI, which word describes you best? I know I covered a lot of things, the major headlines, but wanted to see, what do you feel? How are you feeling about it? Okay. Okay, there's mixed feelings, some excitement, overwhelmed, skeptical, and concerned. Yeah, I would, would have loved to see your face when you answer these polls, but yeah, I can see the sentiments here. Okay, concerned and curious. Okay, good. I'm going to end this poll and go on to the next question here. I mean, actually, okay, so work is changing. As I mentioned, AI is reshaping roles across the fields. In many cases, is enhancing rather than eliminating jobs. Careers are changing, but they're not disappearing. Engineers now use AI to design smarter systems, model traffic, and advance renewable energy. Marketers deploy AI to personalize campaigns, refining messages, and generate creative content. Product managers serve as connectors between human needs and AI capabilities. Human resource teams leverage AI for talent forecasting, etc. Some of the key themes here are traditional and business roles are evolving. Every role is gaining AI dimension. Another thing, what you see here is the traditional fields are becoming more and more multidisciplinary. If you look at engineering and product management, they're coming together. Engineering and even medical field are coming together to develop new drugs, to develop some of the medical technology. And AI is enabling those kind of multidisciplinary aspects of jobs. As far as organization charts are concerned, I gave you some ideas earlier where the organizations of the future won't look like organization charts at all. The rigid hierarchies are going away, giving rise to more of a collaborative environment where where a leader, as you can see just in the picture, a leader would be working with AI agents, robots, as well as human workforces. Companies are integrating AI heavily into their workflows. These are some of the jobs, some of the skills that are more in demand, the people who understand how to build a workflow, how to integrate AI into the existing workflows. So that's basically how the work is changing and how organizations are dealing with it. Earlier, I mentioned a lot of the entry-level jobs are disappearing, but the disappearance of traditional entry-level roles doesn't mean that fewer opportunities. There are more opportunities. It simply means that new graduates or people who are already in the workforce at entry-level jobs must arrive or learn AI skills already in hand. So that's the important message here, is that the people who are equipped with AI knowledge the people who can do some of the traditional roles, whether it is product management and project management with AI, or even the marketing with the AI, those are the graduates, those are the people that are more in demand. So here is another poll question. Do you feel your current role will change significantly because of AI? Okay, so it's kind of split here. It's already changing. Some industries probably in the next few years, and some of the industries, it's good to see minimal impact is expected. Okay, good. All right, thanks. With that, let me hand it off to Diane for some of the next slides here.
Thank you. Okay, so the new skill sets are, sorry, my computer just decided to close everything so I couldn't see anything. I apologize for that. You've been told your whole life about the skills that you're going to need in the workplace. And now, thanks to the rapid pace of change in technology, there's new skills that you need to include. And that includes things like prompting, which seems easy, but it can be just as complex as asking Google for a single specific thing when you can't remember what that thing is called and you aren't sure exactly what it looks like. Prompting can be a lot like that if you haven't practiced. Also, we used to say in both business and academia that you had to trust but verify your sources. Now you have to verify them before you can trust them. With the increase in deepfakes and the quality of visual AI growing so much more rapidly than any other form of AI, especially written, it's critical that you know exactly where something is coming from before you cite it, reference it, or even talk about it with others. I mean, talk about fake news, right? And tied to that is that written AI is not your friend. It hallucinates. It straight up makes things up. If you don't give it specific rules and processes to follow, AI will give you information and you won't know if it plagiarized the whole thing. If it made up the information, if the sources are real, you have to verify. You also have to be sure that the information that AI is sharing with you is something that you would have known in that moment. It's one thing if it tells you something and you then research the information to learn more. It's another thing to be in an undergrad research class citing statistical ideas that are taught in doctoral programs. That was an example taken from life, by the way. In that instance, you can either not use the information or you can research the idea and learn how to actually do it and then prove that you can do it because you'll probably be asked to. So then when should you not use AI and when should you collaborate with it? Well, all of what I'm about to say relates to both work and school. So keep that in mind. If the work, no, actually stay on that slide, sorry. If the work you're measuring, if the work measures individual mastery, limit your use of AI to minimal controlled usage. Synonyms, grammar, formatting, definitions, examples with links to sources. If it measures or processes a process or iteration, then you want to use structured AI. This is a rules-based usage. So you use AI to brainstorm, to outline, to give a synopsis of an article, things like that, based upon what your company or a professor says is the acceptable use of AI. If it's preparing you for real world practice, then you want to use guided AI. So this version is directed and supervised use, where you are supervising the AI. Ergo, give me feedback on what I've written. Explain the difference between X and Y so I can write about it, or suggest better transitions between paragraphs. And then finally, if it's foundational skill building, don't use AI. This has to be all you. There are things that you have to learn for yourself. Mistakes are good. You learn more from a mistake than you do when you're always right. Keep that in mind, please. So now we can go to the next slide. And as you can see, these are some concrete ways that you can work with AI in every industry. Now, I will say on the bottom right, you have all of the creative fields. Um, Written AI still needs a lot of work. And while it can do more quote unquote serious writing, it will always hallucinate something, it will plagiarize ruthlessly, and it will straight up invent facts and data. Where AI really falls apart, interestingly, is when it comes to emotion. AI cannot fake emotion at all. And I will just tell you right now, it is terrible at sarcasm. I've been trying for years, it just doesn't get it. So now we have another slide. Another poll. What is your current comfort level using AI? Wait, there we go. ChatGPT, Copilot, Gemini, Claude, any of them. I completely agree with you in some ways. I don't know if you're familiar with the term Luddite, Hugh, but I have days where I am a Luddite. Yeah, this is very interesting. Curious but cautious. I like that. That is the leading answer, and I like that answer a lot.
Mhm.
Okay. So I'll just show you guys what you've said.
All right.
Curious but cautious was the winner. So what's the downside for you guys? Well, there's actually a big one. MIT did a study um, that showed it was a 4-month study. And what they did is they took 3 groups of students ranging from 18 to 39 years old. And they said, okay, this group of students is going to do all of their work using ChatGPT. This group of students is going to use the Google search engine. And this group of students is going to have to figure out how to write this essay themselves. And they were asked to write a series of SAT essays over the course of these 4 months. And what they found was that ChatGPT users disproportionately underperformed in the neural, the linguistic, and the behavioral levels. Also, at the end of 4 months, they had reached a point where they would simply go to ChatGPT, put in the prompt, paste in the answer, and then would forget the answer as soon as they had pasted it in. Couldn't remember what they had quote unquote written. People using the Google search engine had better retention, and those who didn't use anything to write the essay had the best retention. They had the best neural, linguistic, and behavioral retention of all of the groups. In addition, at the end of 4 months, when those who weren't using either a search engine or ChatGPT were exposed to ChatGPT, they were able to create better prompts than either of the 2 other groups. So reliance on a tool that will give you what you perceive to be the solution actually trains you not to come up with good or valid answers, to simply rely on that tool consistently. And you will historically, based on this information, never actually learn anything, which I don't think any of you want. Okay, next, please. So, Mythbusters. AI is not going to replace all jobs. It can't. We're nowhere near the point where where it's capable of doing that. At the moment, it can replace tasks. It cannot replace roles. So your job may evolve to train you how to use AI more, but it will not replace you as an employee. AI outputs are not always correct. In fact, they are so frequently wrong. And it's very confident in its wrongness, which is, I think, it's like talking to a toddler in many ways. AI amplifies your knowledge, and it exposes the lack of knowledge, right? So If you have knowledge in a particular area, it can make you smarter in that section. And if you don't have the knowledge, it just shows that you don't. And then all professors hate AI is just not true. Some of us actually encourage it as long as you cite it. And I'm sure my students and some of you are here tonight are sick of me saying, please cite AI whenever you use it in whatever format that you choose to use it. But you can. So next, let's be clear. It is appropriate to use AI for brainstorming, for outlining, defining, synopsizing, summarizing, generating explanations on concepts you're unfamiliar with, all of those things. It is never appropriate to appropriate AI's output as your own. Short version, that's plagiarism. Long version, that is just ethically messing with your karma. Don't go there. Next, please. Some notes. Okay. I'm going to go right to left, top row, and then right to left, bottom row. Ready? AI tools are not secure storage systems. Never enter personally identifiable information, your student info, your grades, HR data, medical records, financial data, internal documents, anything proprietary. AI prompts are public spaces. They're safe for general ideas. They are unsafe for sensitive specifics. This protects you and your organization. Um, if you enter something into a public AI tool, you automatically lose control over it. It's actually in the terms and conditions. Even with privacy filters or enterprise versions, never assume that anything is 100% confidential. AI models learn from patterns. It is a pattern recognition system. It apes what you say, right? It is reiterating your concepts in other words. So it's pattern recognition. Any private information you upload, if somebody else is coming up with the same kind of pattern, it will apply your ideas to that person's pattern. If confidentiality is a non negotiable, particularly at work, don't use AI at all for that task. When do you disclose that you've used AI? Always, 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 always. In the workplace, transparency builds trust. Explain when you've used it to help with an analysis, with your writing, or with even decision making. In an academic setting, disclosure is tied directly to integrity. You must cite or acknowledge in some way, shape, or form. And I will give you 4 examples of AI citation in a bit. You must acknowledge your AI assistants. Transparency signals competence. Means that you're using the tool thoughtfully. You're not hiding behind the tool. You are driving AI. You're not being driven by it. And that is the goal. Simple rule. If AI influenced the task in any way at all, disclose it. Also remember, AI is a collaborator, not a scapegoat. If it gives incorrect, biased, plagiarized, or risky information, you are responsible for it. Always review and verify and critically evaluate AI generated content. If it's your name on the report, the memo, the email, the analysis, you own the consequences, not the AI. Also, AI reflects patterns in its training data because it is an algorithm which someone programmed, and they programmed their biases into the AI. So automatically you have real world biases in the AI, and then it builds on those biases by all of the things that it gets told. So it could reinforce stereotypes. And there was an infamous example 2 years ago with an AI that went down a rabbit hole and became a Nazi. Or there was a version of Amazon's AI about 5 years ago that only hired a certain group, a certain profile of people because that was what the company had hired previously, and it ignored any other potential applicants, right? AI reinforces whatever stereotypes have already been built into it and what is then plugged into it as you go forward. So it can reinforce those stereotypes and skew analysis towards dominant cultures or viewpoints. You must always ask whose perspective is missing. So you have to use your own judgment to catch the bias, to contextualize the information, and to ensure fairness. And then finally, on this page, AI should support your decision making. It should never replace it. Don't let AI select applicants or write performance reviews or approve financial transactions or be involved in compliance. Using AI for decisions that carry legal, ethical, or professional consequences exposes you and your employer to liability. Keep the human in the loop, right? We're going to keep saying it, keep the human in the loop. So, responsible use in research and assignments. Let's be honest, we're hammering on and on about the same ideas over and over again. And there's a reason. Research has shown that if you read or hear something 3 times at a minimum, you're disproportionately more likely to remember it than if you see it or hear it only once or twice. So hopefully these guidelines help you use AI ethically rather than covertly. Remember, transparency, verification, and critical evaluation are what you have to remember about AI. And now on my last slide, we're going to talk about citing APA format. Okay, so for in text, you're going to cite which AI you used, OpenAI. It could be Microsoft. I don't actually know who makes Claude, but there you go. You could pick your flavor, pick the company, and the year that it was updated most recently. If it's a reference list entry, so one's in text citation, one's in the references. You have to specify which one you're using, what version it is, and what the prompt is. Always include the prompt. One of the benefits to including the prompt is it is possible that your professor can help you refine your prompt to make it stronger and to actually help protect you from inaccurate information. For AI generated images, again, you're going to want to say which one you used and what you were asking it to generate for you. And then to simply disclose assistance. So brainstorming or grammar checks, right? No paraphrasing, no quoting. Then you're just going to say something like this paper was reviewed using AI-based language assistance. All final content is the author's original work, some version thereof. And I will tell you now, professors, thank you, Carlos. Claude is anthropic. Professors will really appreciate the AI disclosure so much. And I'm going to pass it back to Dr. Abu.
Right, thanks, Dan. Those are some great points on the responsible use of AI, something that we all should practice. Now, we have established that a lot of companies using, based on the headlines that we just heard, a lot of companies are going in the direction of collaborating with AI, using AI to really create value in whatever industry they're on. Once again, going back to the World Economic Report on the core skills for 2030, what are some of the skills that are needed? These are the digital and AI skills. I know in one of the survey, the results said a lot of you are curious, you're trying out various tools of AI, but not quite comfortable yet. This is where we can do a good job of actually making a conscious effort, making it intentional to learn as much as possible about AI literacy, talking about data fluency, interacting with AI, use all AI tools, ChatGPT, Copilot, learn more about it, right? Data Camp offers a very good introduction to generative AI. The class that I'm teaching, which is Introduction to Artificial Management, also gives you a very good insight into getting started on AI and understanding how to apply AI to business problems, right? Yeah, a lot of you may be using it in your for your personal purposes as well as at work, but really understanding the use cases. Why do you want to use AI? AI is just a tool. We don't necessarily have to use AI for every business purpose. If the business objective can be solved by AI, yes, we will definitely use it. But this is where you have to be able to frame the business problem in terms of, that particular business problem can be solved with this type of AI, and this is how it can add value, right? So that understanding and tying that to your use case is very important. And more so, is the ability to integrate AI into the workflows. This is where the big demand for skills in the next 30 years is: how do I reinvent the existing business processes, existing business workflows, using AI to create value? Think, if you're working in human resources, if you're working in finance, accounting, project management, what have you, every one of those tasks, you have to sit back and think as you learn more about AI, is that something that I can now automate with the help of AI? Even data analysis, simple level of coding, what I can do with AI, and how can I integrate those into my current workflows? Those skills are more and more important. And the other most important thing is, as I said, every job is becoming an AI job, but the best ones will still be human. These are the 6 human-centered skills that are more important than ever. These skills were always important, but in the world of AI, these are the 6 skills that are more important, right? I'm going to walk through some of these. First is the ethical judgment and moral reasoning. Customer service bots and even virtual AI-based call centers now can handle some requests, basic requests, and some advanced requests. But when somebody is frustrated, grieving, or making nuanced decisions, they want to connect with a human, right? So whether it is leaders, teachers, healthcare workers, or entrepreneurs, they rely on human intelligence. They rely on emotional intelligence to build trust, resolve conflict, and motivate teams, right? One of the human resources executive survey recently found that emotional intelligence, empathy, and human connection are ranked among the top human resource skills. They're mission critical in the AI workplace. Another survey here, LinkedIn's 2024 Workplace Learning Report shows that companies that train for empathy and active listening are seeing higher retention and customer satisfaction. Now, we knew about this many, many years ago, decades ago, but they're now amplified with AI. So how do we build emotional intelligence, empathy, right? It's practicing active listening skills. Even if you're using AI, it's asking those open-ended questions that Dan talked about, seeking feedback, role playing. If you have a situation, role play with the AI agent, and that role playing and coaching are practical ways to strengthen that emotional acuity, right? The next thing is creativity and vision, which is where the human edge comes into play. It is World Economic Report again says creativity, originality, and initiative are the 3 rising skills across industries. How do you build this creativity? Once again, expose yourself to diverse inputs. It doesn't matter what field it is: art, philosophy, history, brainstorming it. AI is bringing together various disciplines, a lot of the disciplines that seemed not that relevant in the modern age, like philosophy and history and history, etc., are coming together and gaining a new meaning in the world of AI. Next is critical thinking and contextual judgment. As you know, AI can produce, decent answers, but not always reliable ones, right? As Diane said, it lacks that situational awareness and ability to understand. So critical thinking remains a human safeguard. It means that we're using reliable data sources, so there is no hallucination. We question the data source. We interrogate how a particular assumption, how a particular decision was arrived at, so we can detect bias, right? Now, how do you sharpen some of these creativity skills? Even when you ask ChatGPT or AI, be a devil's advocate. Ask questions in a structured, reasoning way. There is one of the method in prompting that you learn in my class is basically Socratic method. The philosophy was there, where you basically asking why, what, how, and you can do the same thing with ChatGPT or Copilot, where you're asking to reflect its own answers and exploring idea and solving problems through these reflective questions, almost turning AI into a rich, structured dialogue, making it go through the reasoning and playing devil's advocate and asking, various types of questions to really get to the bottom of it and learn. The next one is adaptive learning and human resilience. Again, the World Economic Report 2025, human-centric AI emphasizes that adaptability is a human advantage. Workers who learn, how to apply it across domains become indispensable, right? Now, how do you build adaptive learning? It's the ability to continuously learn. Should never say that, okay, I am not familiar with AI. There are so many opportunities to learn AI step by step. That's to have that growth mindset, ability to continually learn, ability to take criticism, um, giving feedback loops and growing through being discomfortable with AI. Having that discomfort with the AI is fine so that you can make use of it and become very comfortable using AI. Last but not least, in the age of AI, what's needed is a good communicators, storytellers who can connect the dots, right? As I said, you may know the AI tools. AI tool can only get you so much, only get you to so far, because think about AI as a Fitbit. Just having a Fitbit or Apple Watch doesn't make you healthy. Is how you use it. So know how to use AI in a particular purpose-driven business purpose. What you are trying to solve, can it be solved by AI? And how do you add value? And that's the beauty about communication, ability to tell a story, and connecting the dots between technology and business are some of the human-centered skills that are not going to go away. They're just being amplified with the AI. I talked about human edge in the AI world. Dan talked about this too. Empathy, creativity, ethical judgment, communicators, storytellers, philosophers. What you see on the left-hand side is MIT students, engineering students, are actually writing poetry. You can read that article on Atlantic. Basically tells you about the importance of those human skills, humanities. They teach empathy, reflection, and meaning making, which is very important to build AI responsibly, right? So it doesn't matter what field you're on, you can add an AI angle to the field that you're already good at. You may be very good at humanities, but that's where the demand comes in now, right? Humanities, philosophy, etc., because you can add that human touch and human edge, empathy, etc., to the AI world. Soft skills were always important. They're now becoming power skills. They're hardest to automate. There's a word for it. These are transitional skills in the world of technology, right? So in the world of machine content, there's so much demand for the authentic human voice. That's priceless. One of the exercises, one of the assignments I do in my AI class is, we go through various AI use cases where AI ethics was a concern. Diane talked about Amazon hiring, Amazon's recruitment tool issue, where some of the historical bias were built into the model unknowingly. Same thing if you think about the Apple credit card algorithm case, it gave 10 times more the credit limit to the husband than the wife, even though they shared equal assets, right? Because the historical data underrepresented women. So there are a lot of those use cases. But then I ask students to reflect personally without using AI, to reflect on that, how did the model got it wrong? How can it get better, et cetera, et cetera. And then use AI to see what AI tells you about the same case. And then compare and contrast the two. And then almost every time I did a meta-analysis on that when students analyze this. And I went through a self-reflecting loop within the AI, and I asked the AI, okay, when you compared these, what you wrote and what students wrote, what did you miss, AI? What did you miss, ChatGPT? And it comes to the conclusion that yes, human voices were more authentic, right? And then the bottom line is the issues of ethics and emotional and moral responsibility are purely human, and that's where students did better than what AI wrote, right? So this is kind of going through a self-reflection loop and then making sense out of it. And that's where we want to step up. We want to learn AI. We want to use it in a right way, not just to have it complete some assignments or none. That we are not doing anything there to develop ourselves. So in order to develop those critical thinking skills, some of the skills that AI lack, in order to be able to explain to our future employers or current employers that how you are building AI capability, how you're making it part and parcel of your job, and how does it add value. That's more important than using AI just to do a quick assignment. So that's something that I want all of you to take home as a message. So with that, let's go on to the next tool, the next question. What's your next step after hearing all this to become more AI ready? Okay, I like every one of those answers. Learning new tools, absolutely. Taking a course, right? Experiment at work, and mentor to teach others. Yeah, I mean, continue to experiment. It's continue to learn, having that growth mindset, experimenting at work. And once you're successful in learning the tools, and think about a use case critically and see how that use case can be solved with AI if it applies. I mean, again, AI doesn't have to be, we should not have to use AI for every question, every business problem. But if there is an opportunity to automate your work and to do it better in a timely manner, then you should definitely talk about it and convince others to do it. Okay, so I want to end with what is the call to action here? Of course, we are to use of course, we got to use AI responsibly. That's a first step in our classrooms, in our assignments. And embrace the AI mindset. Be curious about it. I know a lot of you said you're curious about it, but take the next action. Experiment with new tools. Experiment with Copilot, experiment with ChatGPT, download all the apps, Perplexity, and all the AI tools. Not only generative AI tools, but also there are some very good predictive tools like computer vision, Google's teachable machine, where you can take a sample of thousands of MRI images from Google or Kaggle as a data source and teach a teachable machine model from Google how to recognize cancerous images versus non-cancerous brain MRI scans. And then it will teach you how did the model work. It's a whole computer vision exercise, not necessarily generative AI, but computer vision model to understand the power of these technologies, right? And build small AI wins into your work. If you take a class, you can build a portfolio of what you've done, whether it is simply taking a particular prompt and applying it to a prompt to derive a better answer, right? You should be able to explain these are the things that you have done and build that into your portfolio. That will come in handy for job interviews. Focus on creativity, empathy, and ethical leadership, as we talked about. These are the areas where humans shine. If you're very good at it, continue those fields, but then see how AI can add that additional dimension to make it better, right? And never stop learning, upskilling relentlessly. Learning is not optional, it's survival at this point. And one of the famous quotes from one of the thought leaders here, Andrew Ng, is AI won't replace you, but someone who knows how to use AI will definitely replace you. And this is where I think Citibank, recently started training 175,000 of its employees. And then they said, either you will learn the new AI tools because that's where we are headed, or we have to replace you, right? So walking into a new workforce with some of these AI skills, some of these human skills that amplify AI will definitely put you in the, will provide you more opportunities, not only in the current workflows, current work that where you are, but also as you seek out new opportunities. Concluding points here: don't fear AI, be curious, explain boldly, and let AI amplify your creativity. That's the presentation we have. And again, here's our LinkedIn. You can reach me out on LinkedIn. If you have any questions, we'll answer some of the questions now, but it's always good to keep in touch. All right, with that, let's open up for questions. Okay, I can bring some of the chat.
Dennis, you have a question?
Yeah, hello. My name is Dennis. My question is more pertaining to the reflection activity you said. How do you ensure? Oh, you can hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, for the reflection activity, how do you ensure that the students are actually not using AI for the first post? I know it says like no AI, but like how do you ensure that?
Yeah, it's tough, but when I can read the authentic reflections that they wrote, I've gotten enough of AI knowledge that I can figure it out. But the whole idea here is like, I cannot completely prevent students from cheating. If students want to, use AI, when I say do not use AI, I mean, that's the whole point of not learning. The whole point of that exercise is to, start to think critically, start to reflect on what AI does right and what AI doesn't do right, right? That's the whole point of this reflection exercise. And, that's where students have to use AI responsibly. My point is, I don't want to be the guardian of, how they use AI. To a certain extent we can, but this is where students should step up and use AI responsibly. Because what's the use if you use AI to write that reflection, right? It's not going to help you at all. The whole idea here is to learn AI, use it responsibly, and be able to tell a story to yourself, to your employer, current or future employers, right? That's the whole idea of learning.
And I'm going to add on to that and say, so a lot of faculty, and I can only speak for the business department, a lot of faculty, we spend more time grading everything that you do now. And a lot of us run everything from reflections to discussion boards to papers through multiple different AI detectors. We're not going to share how we can tell at a glance that somebody has used AI, because that would defeat the purpose, quite frankly. Just know that AI has tells, a number of tells. And you reach a point where you can read 2 or 3 sentences and know that this wasn't written by a student. And if I look at, for example, the introductory post that a student wrote versus a post 5 weeks later, and all of a sudden you've gone from having really clean or really human grammar and human errors to having everything be pristine. Probably you got some AI usage going on in there, and it may just be Grammarly, but it's kind of a tell, and that's a student tell, right? That's not even an AI tell. So there's a lot of layers there. Michael, I was going to say the MDAT, but some
Yeah.
people, some
I
people really do use it.
I learned M dash in a long way. I did write a book 3-4 years ago, and I learned it the hard way, even before generative AI. Now I'm trying to eliminate M dashes in my writing, because then it's like people would think that it's ChatGPT or AI, but it's not. I'm purposely using M dashes, but it's taken a whole new meaning. There's a question here on what are some of the more common popular tools. Um, Obviously, ChatGPT is a more popular tool, but not everybody want to pay $20 a month for the plus version, because the plus version gives you lot more capability to develop your own agents and to develop your own GPT. Copilot, I think CUNY comes with Copilot, right? It's free for CUNY students. So Copilot is a good one. Gemini is a good one. Perplexity is a good one too, which is and I know Claude from Anthropic is more popular, especially when it comes to writing. Those are generative AI, but I would not limit learning just for generative AI. One of the tools out there, Google's Teachable Machine, it's called Teachable Machine, that lets you train a computer on images. It's a fascinating exercise where you can take a bunch of images from online, right? There's a whole website called Kaggle, KAGGLE.com, which is a repository for all data sets that has data sets on MRI images, X-rays, the fruits and crops and all that. So you can train a computer using those images, and then you can see, okay, if it diagnoses it correctly, the right flower, or whatever the types of flowers, crop, yield, good crop, bad crop, or the crop that is needing fertilizers versus not. As I said, X-ray images, disease or not. And then you can go under the hood and learn how did the model learn, right? So that's a fascinating look into some of those predictive tools. And then agentic AI, again, if you have a ChatGPT version, you can create your own agent. As a matter of fact, if you look at this Black Friday, the number of searches for a product that originated in an AI agent like ChatGPT was like 500% more than previous year, because a lot of the searches for a product like cosmetic or whatever you're buying did not start with Google search. It started with somebody asking ChatGPT, hey, I'm looking for buying this one. Go find the best price. Go find, whatever the pluses and minuses. And then the click through was from the ChatGPT, from the AI version rather than Google search. So the whole marketing side, how it all comes together, is now different. The workflow is different. Search engine optimization is different because AI is creating more traffic to a particular product website. So as I mentioned, the entire workflow is going to be rewritten for AI. And if you're very good in workflows, if you're very good in process mapping, if you're very good in connecting business and the requirements, those jobs are not going to go away. They are actually more important now, because anybody can sell you an AI tool, but how do you integrate into your existing business workflow to rewrite the whole story, to re-engineering the workflows, people, process, and technology? That's more important than ever. So if you're already in those fields, great, continue those, add an AI angle to it. If not, no matter which field you are, think through critically and see what skills you can gain in order to be competitive in the job you're already in, or in the job you're aspiring to do. Okay, any other questions? I'm just reading through it.
So there was one in the Q&A from Tanya. Is there a movement in AI to include disenfranchised communities similar to the digital divide movement, where organizations, businesses, and governments made an effort to include communities that were being left behind in the digital era? And I responded and I said, sadly, no, Tanya, there isn't. And there's a bunch of books and then articles that have been written specifically about this. And it isn't even just AI or generative AI, it's predictive AI as well. Search engines have historically disenfranchised wide and vast groups of people and have generated responses relative to perceived income level, which is problematic. And so, yeah, AI is just reinforcing this existing.
Yeah, there's a lot of studies, a lot of standards being developed right now to make it, human centric, to make it socially and ethically responsible. And I can send you a link. There's a whole section on ethical development of AI. And a lot of organizations are actually working towards that.
It's going to take time.
Yep, it's definitely going to take time. Yep.
Thank you, everyone, for your time. We appreciate this. And just so you know, we're hoping to make this an ongoing series where we'll discuss different aspects of AI with you. So if you have things that you're really interested in learning about, send me an email and I will be sure to include that in one of our upcoming sessions.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Feel free to reach out if you need anything.